even if there's no wrongdoing, even if the prosecutor has failed to put together a strong enough case for the judge to say, okay, we'll go to trial, there's a pretty damning statement there from the Juventus higher-ups about what Paratici has been involved with. They've lost 700 million euros under his watch of wasted money in trying to sign Ronaldo and doing the other deals that he's done. The club is essentially bankrupt. The shareholders have lost fortunes, and everybody who has got mud to throw is throwing it towards Paratici. It does look increasingly like Fabio Paratici is central to absolutely everything. Oh, welcome guys, welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. How you doing? I hope you're all happy, healthy, doing the things that you love with the people that you love doing them with. Guess what, guys? Guess what? It's day 5 of the Juventus saga, and it gets wilder and weirder. The prosecutor has released more statements about this, and we're going to go through that today. And I think what I'm going to have to do at some point is do a stream where I pull together the entire history of this case, because not that I know any of you guys care about the Juventus side of things, but it does look increasingly like Fabio Paratici is central to absolutely everything. So I'm going to read out 2 articles today. I'm going to scan through them as quickly as I can so that I don't spend too long talking about it. But there's 2 basic scenarios, and the first one I'm going to read out is more around the reputation of Fabio Paratici as a credible director of football. So, as you know, Paratici left Juventus in 2021, June 2021. Well, his successor to the role, sporting director Federico Cherubini, it has emerged because of these wiretaps that have happened. So after the whole thing that, as a background again, after the whole thing that was they were accused of in January, that was then summarily dismissed as not having enough prudent and evidence in April, but the investigation that was going on at that time included wiretapping of all of the directors, all of the higher members of staff at Juventus, and then those conversations that were tapped and recorded and reviewed obviously alluded to further wrongdoing, which is now the part of the investigation that is going on at the moment. It has also led to UEFA opening this investigation, and when there's a UEFA investigation, just for what it's worth, that then stops the jurisdiction being held solely in Italy. The investigation now can turn to other teams, other agents, other companies across Europe in the UEFA jurisdiction, which is where I get worried, because some of the deals that are being investigated for wrongdoing, for mismanaged agents' fees, for inflated valuations, all this stuff, are the Romero deal, the Kulusevski deal, and the Bentancur deal. We're going to go back, let's go back. So Tottenham could very easily be caught up in all this stuff in more ways than just Paratici being asked to go back and give evidence at a trial. And we're going to talk about that stuff in a second, but before we do, I just want to give a little bit of light as to what Cherubini thinks of Paratici's job. So let me read this out. It has emerged from telephone calls in July 2021, which is a month after Paratici left Juventus. Cherubini spoke on the phone with the financial director at the time, Stefano Bertola. The topic of conversation was Paratici, with Cherubini accusing him of putting the club at risk by sacking Maurizio Sarri and Andrea Pirlo within the space of 12 months. Quote, "In 2 years, you threw away everything. 700 million euros, 600 million quid. That was put in by the shareholders. You put everything at risk because you decided to send 2 people away." He's talking about Paratici. So the U is like the royal U. Also in the stamper, the words spoken by President Andrea Agnelli to the CEO, Maurizio Arrivabene, are reported as saying, "We cannot say all the shit that is underneath us. He doesn't want to alert anybody about it, doesn't want to put it on the shareholders. Those words are particularly eye-opening when speaking about the most successful club in Italy. Cherubini is also intercepted while talking to another senior figure at Juventus. He told one of them, "We were arrogant on the transfer market." This is Paratici he's talking about again. "And with Ronaldo, our vicious cycle was triggered because we spent Pogba's money to pay 2 clauses. This struggle of internal accusations at the club has created numerous problems in the management and construction of the team in the transfer market. Even Allegri, according to the transcripts of La Stampa, understood that the club spending has been essentially useless. During a conversation, he said to Cherubini, 'You have to understand that last year's market was made up only of capital gains.'" The capital gains that were under investigation, by the way. So it was a bullshit market, that's a quote. "Meanwhile, some agents have discredited Juventus' transfer study. If you look at the total amount we gave Chiellini between salaries and bonuses, it's appalling. There is no criterion in how we spent the money. No wonder if in 2 years we have asked the shareholders for 700 million, one of the agents said. Former goalkeeper Storari, now part of the staff after joining under Paratici, appears to agree with his view, admitting, quote, "Now we have to fix the shit he left." So you could, on the one hand, argue that the successor that's come in to do the job of the predecessor, Paratici, if he's the one who's throwing him under the bus, well, maybe he's just kind of trying to defend his own position and saying, "What do you expect me to do? I can't handle this because the last guy screwed up so badly." A lot of people do that in work. They want to blame the last guy for why their job isn't easy, or for why they haven't been a success. But when you've got the manager, the CEO, the agents, the goalkeeper, the staff, when they're all saying the same thing, you start to wonder whether or not Paratici was in any way competent at all. And that's a topic of conversation that, for me, does affect Tottenham, because we're entrusting this guy with rebuilding the entirety of Tottenham Hotspur's footballing side. Even absent any problems or wrongdoings that he gets caught up in the middle of, the wiretaps that they didn't want to get out onto the shareholders, onto the financial reports, they didn't want anyone in the club to know. But behind the scenes, they were saying that Paratici is essentially fucking useless. Not good. Not a good look when he is, judge, jury and executioner of all the things, apparently, allegedly, that's the plan of what happened to Tottenham. But beyond that, guys, so that's just on his, competence. Now let's look at what the prosecutor said yesterday about the situation. I'm quoting, I'll read this out again. "The report from the Turin public prosecutor claims Andrea Agnelli was, quote, fully aware, unquote, that Juventus were operating illegally, and that current Tottenham director Fabio Paratici was, quote, without doubt central to financial irregularities, unquote. The public prosecutor put together the dossier after an investigation and presented it to the magistrate in order to push for 12 individuals plus the club to go on trial. That decision by the judge, the court, will be made, I believe, like Wednesday next week, Tuesday next week, something like that. And it will be the same situation as what happened in April, where the judge reviewed all of the intricacies of the prosecutor's claims. In April they dismissed it because they said that it was impossible to prove whether or not there was inflated transfer values. But as a consequence of that investigation, all of this stuff's come out, and the judge will make the same decision about whether to allow the trial to go ahead. And if the trial does go ahead, then Paratici will be one of the 12 that will probably be asked to go and give evidence. So he's not been arrested, but he is certainly not in the clear, according to the public prosecutor. Let me carry on reading this. There is therefore the evidence for the prosecution and their appeal to the judge, who will then have to rule on the case, as there is no jury system in Italy. With that in mind, the dossier suggests not just massive wrongdoing throughout the club, but also the concern they will continue to repeat the same irregularities. Quote from the public prosecutor: Agnelli is fully aware of the serious financial situations of the club and the need for corrective manoeuvres. But those corrective actions in question were illegal, and Agnelli was entirely aware of that, read the prosecutor's statement. The name that has appeared repeatedly in the report and in wiretapped conversations is that of Paratici, who was at Juventus from 2010 to 2021, working with and under Beppe Marotta until 2018, which is when the situation spiraled out of control. So when Marotta left in 2018, everything went to poo, because apparently Paratici was given the reins to handle everything. Hi guys. And as soon as he was given control, he got rid of those two people, Andrea Pirlo and I forget the other guy, and then had, I guess, his trigger over everything that went when the spiralling started to unravel. This is made clear in the dossier, which notes that Paratici, quote, was in charge of the sporting area during the years of interest. He without doubt had a central role in the ideation, development and realisation of the artificial capital gains. Vice President Pavel Nedved was also considered fully aware of the club dynamics and the need to cover excessive costs, not by saving money, but by acting anomalously, which is not the same as anonymously. Anomalously is like acting out of order, like an anomaly to the situation, and then even illegally. In urging the magistrate to issue arrest warrants, the prosecutor painted a picture of Juventus as a club continuing to behave outside the rules. A criminal context of alarming seriousness, this is a quote, dealing with illegal conduct, which was reiterated and protracted over time for 3 different financial years, for undoubted weight in this case. The crimes analysed suggest an elevated risk that those investigated will continue to commit crimes if the opportunity should arise. Long story short, guys, this prosecutor, who has been investigating Juventus, Paratici, everybody for, you know, those 3 years, 2018 to 2021, he thinks that there's serious amounts of wrongdoing. The first thing he put towards the court back in January, the judge said, difficult to prove, impossible to prove, so you have to dismiss it. They then looked through the wiretaps, found more wrongdoing. Now they're presented another case, and on Tuesday or Wednesday we find out whether or not that is also going to be summarily dismissed, in which case we move on, nothing to see here, or whether there is enough evidence now and the judge says, okay, it goes to trial. And if it goes to trial, then Paratici is one of those 12 people that will be asked to go there. The judge has already made the case, despite the prosecutor asking for arrest warrants. The judge has already said that there's no risk of it happening right now, so there's no need for arrest warrants, but we'll see what happens with the case. Look, the prosecutor is already 0 for 1. The first thing he put together, he thought he had a case. The judge said you didn't. He's now put together another case. We'll see what the judge says. If the judge says yes, we could be in trouble. And the fact that UEFA are now investigating this as well, they started their own investigation, it leaves room for other clubs, other agents, other companies to be caught up in this and to be completely combed through their financials to see what's happened. Tottenham are definitely going to be one of those areas of interest, because Paratici is now involved in Tottenham's deals, and 2 or 3 of them have involved him going back to his old club. The Romero deal is central to this. The Kulusevski deal is central to this, as is the Bentancur deal. So God knows what's going to happen. Just keeping you updated with everything as I see it all the time, as you know. But what I would say, guys, is that even if there's no wrongdoing, even if the prosecutor has failed to put together a strong enough case for the judge to say, okay, we'll go to trial, there's a pretty damning statement there from the Juventus higher-ups about what Paratici has been involved with. They've lost 700 million euros under his watch of wasted money in trying to sign Ronaldo and doing the other deals that he's done. The club is essentially bankrupt. The shareholders have lost fortunes, and everybody who has got mud to throw is throwing it towards Paratici. So a lot of you out there who call Paratici the Don, you know, maybe we're wrong about him. Maybe he is dodgy as hell and frivolous with other people's money. And you know, the one thing that Daniel Levy and Enoch are not is frivolous with their own money. So I don't necessarily know how you guys are feeling about this one, but Daniel Levy's going to be reading that stuff this morning. Daniel Levy is going to be reading all of those communications, those wiretapped conversations that should never have been made public absent this whole court case and this trial and investigation. Is Daniel Levy going to enjoy reading that the director of football that he has employed has been accused by all of his old colleagues of being wasteful with other people's money? What does that do for Daniel Levy's confidence in handing over a healthy transfer budget in January, even if the judge dismisses the court case? Is your confidence still super high with regards to Paratici? Let me know your thoughts, guys. I will continue to follow this case as closely as I can and make sense of it where I can and bring you updates when I have them. Like, share and subscribe, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and as always, bye bye.